Get ready for Netflix's gripping new medical drama, Pulse. Set in a cutting-edge Miami trauma center, third-year resident Dr. Danny Sims is unexpectedly thrust into a promotion when beloved chief resident Dr. Xander Phillips gets suspended. Then, with the emotional and physical stakes at their highest, a storm will push the hospital and its residents to their limits. Witness how life can change in a heartbeat when you're operating under pressure. Watch Pulse, only on Netflix.
There are some neighborhoods in Melbourne where the water is absolutely disgusting.
Whoa!
It's more about knowing what it tastes like. You don't necessarily need to understand what it does.
These minerals to coffee are what seasoning is to food. So
you make avocado on toast and, you don't put lime juice or lemon juice and you don't put salt. It's like the saddest avocado on toast you'll find.
I asked you to withhold telling me before the podcast and now I'm kind of like, all right, do I have a lawsuit on my hands? Explain.
I'm definitely making enemies. Milk is killing the coffee industry in Australia.
Well, welcome back to the It's Just Coffee podcast, everyone. We're going to start this one off in a bit of a different way than we usually do. I'm joined by none other than the water boy, Simon Gautherin. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I should say bonjour. Producer Liam's excited. Now, we have here some coffees that Simon has kindly brewed. We'll get to all the other elaborate stuff on the table shortly. But Simon, could you explain to us what we have in front of us?
So we're very lucky today to be drinking coffee that comes straight from Denmark, from Copenhagen. Grown indoors in a lab by my friend Rasmus Madsen.
Wow.
Danish coffee.
Yep.
You had much Danish coffee before?
This will be my second time. I've tried some of Rasmus coffee before. It was sublime. But all right, so cup number one, you had...
Yeah, so the two coffees are both Caturra, washed, they're grown and pretty much the same spots inside of the research center. But the first one is just a normal Caturra that hasn't gone through anything. The second one is also Caturra, but the trees have been thinned, which means that as the cherries start to grow, they remove about 1/3 of the cherries so that more of the nutrients can go into the other cherries. So you get to experience how this variable impacts the cup profile.
All right, well, can we take a sip of cup one together?
Yeah,
I've been waiting. Wow. It's like remarkably clean
washed coffee.
And juicy. It's kind of, and it's just so fascinating that I could mistake this for a, really nice washed Colombian, Guatemalan, whatever. And it's grown in Denmark inside of a greenhouse. Is that
in a temperature controlled greenhouse? Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you're spot on. This is a kind of variety you find in Central South America. It's got some acidity. It's got like citrus, bit of caramel. It's slightly vegetal as well, but in a positive way. Yeah. But it's grown indoors.
It's quite cherry like. And so we'll go in for round two now. So this is
second one, the one that has been thinned. So they remove 1/3 of the fruits as it starts growing.
Wow.
Bit of a difference, huh?
Yeah, it's very big contrast. And I think anyone, even if you smoke cigars, you could try these side by side and you'd be able to tell the difference. This one tastes a lot more sort of tea-like, slightly more delicate, would you say?
Yeah, but also, I mean, probably the body is a little bit more delicate and refined, but I think the acidity to me is just like, boom, it's just elevated. Yeah. There's way more intensity in the acidity for this one.
And acidity is a bit of a swear word for some people. Like, they don't really understand it. Acidity in coffee is a good thing.
Yes.
So, and that's marvelous. It's like...
So refreshing. I mean, that's what we associate to fruitiness. Some people might not perceive that as acidity, but they'll just say, this coffee feels very fruity.
Can I have some more of number two?
Okay.
Wow, the thin coffee. So Rasmus used to work for Coffee Collective, am I right?
No, he used to work for April
Coffee,
in
my
Copenhagen.
bad. So
yes.
April Coffee, run by Patrick Rolfe. Excellent coffee over there. But this is fantastic, and I kind of hope he keeps going what he's doing and he one day wins the
World Championship. Yeah, next year. So Rasmus has gone 2 times in the World Championship, qualifying using his own coffee that he grew himself in Copenhagen, using a geisha both times, washed as well. Probably the only competitor both time in the World Championship using a washed coffee. So just a very clean, delicate, floral coffee, which is not necessarily the kind of stuff that you see.
And he's an agronomist by trade?
Yes. So he's a fruit researcher. So he researches in fruit cultivation. So he basically does consulting for pear and apple production during the day. So he knows how to grow fruits really well. And he applies his knowledge to coffee. and he happens to grow amazing coffee.
Yeah, no, and we can taste that. I think we're going to have to get Rasmus on the show one day and ask him all about this. So we're going to do an entire podcast on that. But yeah, welcome again to the podcast. Just tell me what you've done with it here as well. So Rasmus has a little product called Poma Coffee. Is that right?
That's right. Him and his team just recently launched Poma Coffee, which is an online-based subscription of coffee that ships out of Copenhagen in Denmark. And what they do is they always send out 2 coffees where there's always just one variable that's changed between these 2 coffees. They're kind of like creating this platform for education for people to kind of understand, okay, what happens in the cup profile when we only change one variable. And for the first release, we got to experience that with the thinning process. And for the second one, they might change the soil composition, or they might change the rainfall in between these 2 coffees. And because they use a lot of coffees from the research center in Copenhagen, they get to control everything.
Wow.
They're inside the lab. You can, more rain, less rain, more sun, less sun. You call it, you name it, they can do it.
And so how much can they produce out of this place in 1 year?
It's only a few kilos per each tree and each variety. So literally there's I think less than 200 people in the world that can taste that. It's very exclusive. It's very limited, which is one of the reasons why it's super exciting.
Yeah, and you've got yourself you've included in there some of your tonic profile.
That's right. So that's one of the reasons why, I've brought this coffee today. Rasmus and I have been good friends for a couple of years. And when he told me he was going to do this online subscription shipping coffee worldwide to everyone around the world, he wanted to make sure that everybody would experience coffee the same way and would, be drinking what we're drinking right now, which is an outstanding cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And usually the biggest variable that we don't control when we ship out coffee is the water quality. So even if you brew coffee in Melbourne, I brew coffee in Sydney, and Rasmus brews coffee in Copenhagen, we get the same coffee, maybe we've got the same equipment, but generally speaking, we've got different water. So his subscription ships with minerals that will sort of like equalize that.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on that a lot more in a moment. But I think we'll start off we'll now get to the way we usually start this podcast off, which is with the coffee news. Liam, can we count us in? Well, in breaking news, and probably the biggest news of the year, Sabrina Carpenter is releasing an espresso ice cream. The pop singer has teamed up with Van Leeuwen Ice Cream for a limited edition espresso flavored ice cream. The espresso flavored ice cream has a chocolate swirl, though what the exact flavor it is has yet to be made public. Van Leeuwen has yet to announce the limited release, nor is it currently anywhere on the website. But per Carpenter's post, the espresso ice cream will be available for purchase starting Friday, June 28th. Will we get that in Australia, do you think, Simon?
I hope so.
I hope so. Do you like the song, Espresso?
I don't actually know the song. Can you sing it?
Yes. Okay. All right. Extra hot take with 2 sugars is not until later, but it's like something, the espresso, I'm working late because I'm a singer. I don't know the other words, but Sabrina Carpenter sings it. Okay.
It's an incredibly viral song at the moment.
Right,
She's incredibly famous, and one of the lyrics is espresso. And so following her brand deal, she's releasing this famous singer is releasing an ice cream.
She basically owns the coffee industry now.
Yeah.
She's done such a service with that song, Espresso.
I must live under a rock then.
Yeah. I don't know how you don't know that song. You would have heard it. Espresso.
Probably.
I reckon you probably have.
Okay. All right.
Passively.
Well, next little bit of news. Aeropress releases the Aeropress Plus or Go Plus. The Aeropress Go Plus combines the brand's revolutionary 3-in-1 brewing technology in a crystal clear coffee maker that conveniently packs up into a double wall, lead-free stainless steel tumbler with a leak-resistant magnetized slider lid. It actually looks quite impressive. So it's like you can just go camping or anything, have your Aeropress, and it goes into a cup. It's all, connectable. I thought it was pretty cool.
I haven't seen it, but I love the Aeropress.
Yeah, the Aeropress is great. Is it? Would you say it's one of your top brewers?
It's funny. I only use the Aeropress one time per year during the Aeropress Championship. Mm-hmm. But I pick up the Aeropress once per year.
Have you ever won the Aeropress Championship?
Yeah, 2021 in Australia.
Okay, 2021.
So I have to say, yes, I do like the Aeropress. I love it.
Yeah, boy. I don't brew too many Aeropress, but I do love it. I think it's awesome, and Go and look up the Aeropress Plus. Go. You'll love it. But welcome again, Simon. You are indeed the water boy. I've known you for, I don't even know how long now, but when I had a previous podcast, we actually did 2 podcasts about this very topic. So something I'm very fascinated in. And if I were to sort of start this off by giving sort of a bit of a snippet to the listener, water is one of the things that matters most in your coffee, whether it's espresso or filter coffee. It's one of the things that matters most. Of a water coffee, if we had our refractometer here, an espresso coffee would be about 10%, anywhere between 8 and 12% total dissolved
coffee
solids,
solids,
which makes the other 90% water. And the components to that water make it really important. With filter coffee, so what we're brewing here could be about 98.7, 98.6%.
Yeah, between 98 and 99% water. Yeah.
So so the main component in the overwhelmingly in both drinks is water. So it matters what water you have. So Simon, you've actually been a big pioneer in this sort of section of the industry, and you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing and what it is here you've produced.
Yeah, so I got fascinated by water as a topic very early on in my coffee journey. Traveling a lot. I'm originally from France, and I get to travel quite a bit. I've tried the same coffee in multiple cities, multiple countries, and I quickly realized that the same coffee tastes so different, even though it's brewed the same way when you travel. And the one factor that changes every single time was water. So I got fascinated by this topic. I've spent about 7 years researching this topic, trying to understand how different minerals impact the flavors in coffee, because minerals is kind of what makes water taste different. The water in Melbourne tastes different from the water that we have in Sydney from the tap. If you go to Perth, you definitely don't want to be drinking the tap water because it's got different minerals inside and it makes it taste absolutely awful. So the minerals are really what plays this key role in the taste of water, in the flavors of water. So I spent 7 years researching this topic, trying to understand how different minerals taste and how they've changed the flavors and attributes of coffee. And I've combined this knowledge, used that in the competition stage for myself to win a couple of competitions and also to coach people that have done very well also in coffee competitions.
Did the reigning World Brewers Cup Martin, did he use your products?
Correct. He's been a very early adopter of our prototypes.
Okay. And so I guess on that, the variations of water between cities, because people might think to themselves, well, I mean, rain falls from the sky, all goes in a catchment, water from the sky is all the same. Why is the water supply different? Is it like the treatment in certain catchments? So
first of all, the water from the sky is actually not always the same, depending on a few different factors like pollution and the weather, the location you are in, and the soil in which the water drains. It will change. The composition changes daily. And even your water from the tap right here, today, tomorrow, the day after, it'll be different every single day. And you might notice the differences, but it is different all the time. What makes it different from a city to another would then be the pipes in which the water is traveling. Where the pipe is built in 1920, for example, if they're 100 years old, they're made of different materials and they will make the coffee taste different. So usually that'll be the soil of that specific area, the pipes, and what the water treatment is for a specific city.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't really realize that the water might be different from
from a neighborhood to another. Absolutely. There are some neighborhoods in Melbourne where the water is absolutely disgusting. Yeah. Although Melbourne is known to have delicious, super clean, soft water, so water that doesn't have much minerals in it.
Okay. Say my apartment is one of the older apartments, and our housemate that came in, he tried our water and was like, "Oh my God, I need to get a filter. I'm in the fridge ASAP." And as soon as I tried it, I was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." So it's actually quite a passive thing because you quench your thirst with whatever you've got. And I had no idea. I feel and
unbeknownst to a lot of people, water sort of filtration is so essential to the coffee industry. Most coffee machines, I'd say, if not all, have a water filter attached to it to, one, get solids out of the water that may be harmful, but two, to sort of make the water better for making espressos. I've got some anecdotes about that I'll explain later on as well.
Yeah. I mean, you'll see water filters everywhere, whether it's for espresso machines, but in homes as well. I mean, in Melbourne, not so much, but in many parts of the world, yes, water filtration, water treatment is key. I mean, we drink water all the time, so.
So explain to us, so we've got tonic.
Yes.
So we've got tonic, jam, and lilac.
Correct.
So these are 3 different water profiles. So I guess I'll start by asking 2 questions. One, how did one of your customers use these products? And 2, what do each of these profiles do?
So I guess, just to give a bit of context. So obviously with all of this insight and knowledge and experimentations that I've done with water and playing with different minerals and different mineral compositions, I've got about like 3,000 different water profile recipes that I've created over the 7 years. I've documented everything on an Excel spreadsheet, and basically I've gathered a huge amount of data that basically gives me a good understanding of, okay, what does magnesium taste like and what does it do to coffee? What does calcium do? What does sulfate, chloride, bicarbonate, you name it. So from there, I've basically combined some of these minerals together to create different mineral profiles, different water mineral concentrates that will do a very specific, precise, targeted job. So we've created 3 profiles out of the knowledge that I gathered with minerals and water. One profile called tonic, that's designed to highlight the brightness, the acidity, the vibrancy of a coffee. It's mainly got magnesium and sodium that do this job at adding fruitiness, adding this vibrancy, this sort of like sparkling, mouth-watering quality to coffee. I mean, the coffee that we're drinking right now is using this specific profile. And I know that some of you guys tried it before and after, and it's always a bit of a shock when you add the minerals into the coffee afterwards.
Do you mind if I read out the components in this? So we got magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, sodium bicarbonate, and potassium bicarbonate in this one.
Yeah, so they all 3 profiles that we have different components, but also more importantly, different ratios. So we play with the ratios, we play with the components to have a very targeted profile so that when you add this one, you know it's going to bring brightness.
I guess what I like most about this is like I've played with these with waters at home and at work and doing all sorts of things, but you're making it really easy to just get a result.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy for you to go to the supermarkets.
I don't know chemistry that well.
I mean, it's not even about knowing chemistry, and I think that's the thing that people get surprised about that. It's more about knowing what it tastes like. You don't necessarily need to understand what it does. You just why magnesium brings more fruitiness. You just need to know that this happens. I mean, to me, my job is my day job is in making coffee taste better. I don't care why magnesium is bringing more fruitiness. I just know that it does it. So if I taste the coffee and I go, yep, I wish it had more acidity. I wish it was more vibrant. I wish it was brighter. I know that it can increase the magnesium level. So you could go out there and buy magnesium chloride, magnesium sulfate from the supermarket. And that's what some people do. Like some people start playing around with water to build their own water. But a lot of the time, they don't get the result that they want because they don't know what to expect from each different minerals. And so what we've done is we've just made it as easy as possible for people to improve their coffees directly. We've done the kind of like combination work for them, basically. And
one really interesting quote that I'm going to steal from you prematurely is that you have explained to me previously and used this specific terminology that these minerals to coffee are what seasoning is to food. So like you think salt on top of a steak or, whatever, the Nando's seasoning, these are kind of like similar things, right? I
mean, this is spot on. Like that to me, I love cooking and this is the simplest way to explain it. Minerals are to coffee what seasoning is to food. When you brew coffee with no minerals, with water that has no minerals, usually you'll find that there's no intensity. You'll find that the coffee is super bland, it's flat, it just doesn't have much to offer. And as soon as you start adding minerals, it'll just go boom. Like you just have the intensity being lifted. It's like you make avocado on toast and you don't put lime juice or lemon juice and you don't put salt. It's like the saddest avocado on toast you'll find.
So how are they interacting with the coffee to bring you these flavors? Because it's one thing to say, yeah, this is the seasoning, but how's that actually work?
So it's interesting. You're touching on another interesting fact. For many, many years, we had this belief that there's an interaction in the extraction process between the minerals and the coffee, and that the minerals would somehow penetrate the coffee particles and get more flavors out of the coffee. But it turns out that there's very little to no interaction in the extraction process between the minerals themselves and the coffee, which means that you can add the minerals after brewing the coffee and it will have basically the same impact.
Wow. Because I've always thought the other way around, that I've spoken to some brilliant coffee minds where they say, okay, well, why aren't you brewing it with the minerals in those? So as in you've got the kettle, it's boiling, you've added some of these rather than adding the minerals in after. I find that fascinating.
So the reason why water tastes different in different cities is because of the way minerals interact with our tongue and with our palates. Now, when we add the minerals directly into the cup, these minerals still interact with our tongue and with our palate and with our taste buds. So mainly the reason why you're experiencing a difference with different waters is the way magnesium, sodium, like different ions, different minerals interact with your taste buds. So whether you add it to your brewing water and brew coffee with it or directly into your coffee afterwards, which is what we've done actually for this coffee, you still notice the difference.
All right, so go through jam next. So jam, I'll read it out to you. You got magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, potassium bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate. So is this the same ingredients but different concentrations?
It's very similar, except that tonic has some sodium chloride and jam doesn't have sodium chloride, it has potassium chloride.
Okay.
But it sounds like when you're reading it out loud like this, it sounds like exactly the same thing. But the ratios are actually widely different, which means that in the end, the cup profile is going to be very different. So the name jam itself suggests that it's very jammy. It's got this sort of like red fruit, sweet confectionery quality to it. And this is what this profile aims at doing. It aims at bringing this creaminess, this jamminess, this roundness, this element of sweetness to coffee.
And you've suggested me actually use this when making like a milk coffee in the past, and I've done it. And it's quite fascinating the role that minerals themselves have on milk. And if I were to explain how I teased an anecdote to you earlier, when we opened our current shop, we had a water filter. I couldn't work out why the coffee tasted bad. And it turns out that actually all I needed to do was add a filter that had more magnesium in it, and it made all the coffee. Boom. Within one day, it went from undrinkable to delicious. And try this at home. Don't take my word for it. Go and try it yourselves. It's quite fascinating the results it'll have.
It's massive. I mean, in my day job, and for many years, I've traveled all around the country, visiting cafes. Troubleshooting, making coffee taste better is basically my day job, and I've done that for hundreds of cafes around the country. And I can guarantee you that there's so much that you can do just with playing with water. And for milk-based coffees, as you were saying earlier, we've created this profile to add sweetness and body, which is generally speaking something that most consumers want with their milk-based coffee. They want something that's rounder, heavier, sweeter. I mean, everyone likes sweetness. Everyone likes something like round and comforting and creamy. And that's probably the reason why this profile is probably the most popular one.
Last one, lilac, magnesium sulfate, magnesium chloride, potassium bicarbonate, sodium chloride.
So that one's designed to highlight floral notes and to sort of bring this elegant, delicate, refined quality to coffee. So it's going to bring this sort of like tea-like but textured quality to coffee.
Sounds like it go real well with the geisha.
It's designed to go with floral coffees such as, Ethiopian coffees or the geisha variety, which is very renowned for its jasmine and floral notes. It goes really well with like Cidras and Pink Bourbon and other very floral-driven varieties. Yeah.
So my next question was going to be, why can't people just use tap water to make the most excellent coffee? I guess we've kind of explained that, but do you have anything else to add?
The way I would describe it is, think of it as when you're brewing coffee, you're basically, it's like cooking. It's like making a dish, and you're basically making a dish with two ingredients, water and coffee. And if you're sourcing the most amazing coffee, you're doing a great job with picking the right ingredients. But if you're using low quality water or the mineral contents, when you talk about low quality water, it's usually not the right mineral contents, like too much, not enough, or the wrong stuff inside of your water. So if one of your two ingredients is amazing and the other ingredient is not great, then, what is your dish is going to look like? Like you have amazing bread and you put terrible avocado on it, you're not making great avocado on toast.
And if I were to liken this to anything, it's like a puzzle. You need to have the right pieces aligned in the right areas. So if I were to have like 3 or 4 when I'm making coffee myself, 3 or 4 most important things when making a filter coffee, let's say, ratios. So using your scales and things like that to measure your ingredients. Grinder, having a good quality grinder to grind the coffee well.
Yep.
And then water. So water composition is so important. You can still get a good result with your water depending on where you are, but
in Melbourne, absolutely. You brew coffee with tap water, it'll taste good. That's not a...
There's some bottled waters that are pretty good too.
Yeah, absolutely. you can make good coffee without, creating your own water recipe and everything. For me, it's more a matter of consistency, and it's a matter of if I love coffee, obviously, and then I do spend money on good coffees. And if I'm, buying good coffee, I want to get the most out of it. I don't want to gamble on whatever water I have available with my tap. I just want to make sure to get the most out of it.
So what are some other potential applications of using products like these? So, let's forget about the APAX side of it, but keep in mind the contents within it. Where do you think where else do you think you can go with things like this?
With mineral concentrates, you mean?
Yeah.
Any beverage. And I think that's the thing that surprises most people. When I say any beverage, it's literally any beverage, such as tea, whiskey, wine, beer. Like try adding, if you're a beer drinker and you like sort of like hoppy IPA style, lilac is going to be an absolute monster because it's going to emphasize this sort of like hoppy quality to the beer. If you like sours, for example, tonic is going to do such a great job at highlighting that acidity. And then jam is probably great with lager because it's going to bring more body, more roundness. So beer is an amazing example. Cocktails are really, I think, intuitive one because bartenders in some of the best cocktail bars around the world already use little like droppers and do seasoning. Like you'll see sort of like saline concentrates, saline solutions, adding salt to cocktails, seasoning cocktails. To me, seasoning is the key word. Again, we touched on the fact that minerals are to coffee or just to beverages in general, what seasoning is to food. And I think that the terminology seasoning, right now we've coined that terminology seasoning for coffee with APAX. Like we call these seasoning for coffee, but I think this is something that you're going to see more and more in the future for other industries, like the beer industry, potentially even the wine industry, even though it's a little conservative and a little sort of like not old-fashioned, but this would be really disruptive. Like adding a few drops of minerals into your wine, like I don't really see that happen tomorrow, but I can guarantee you that it is mind-blowing. Like people just go crazy when you do that.
And my understanding is that filtration when it comes to beer brewing is already so important. So this is different to filtration, obviously. So
big beer manufacturers create their own water profile. So all of the biggest name in the beer industry spend millions of dollars looking into water filtrations, but also looking into which minerals do we add to our water to highlight specific attributes into our beer. I think a very great example that I like using to talk about water and the impact that it has is Coca-Cola. The recipe for Coca-Cola is practically the same everywhere you go in the world. Like sometimes they use different types of sweetener, but the ratios, pretty much everything is the same. The only thing that changes from one country to another is the water content, the mineral content, what water they're using. And that's the reason why Coca-Cola in Australia tastes so different from Coca-Cola in the US, and it tastes so different to Coca-Cola in Japan. Like Coca-Cola tastes different in every country because they use different water.
I've seen some shops here actually import Mexican Coca-Cola. Is there something about Mexican Coca-Cola?
It's a bit sweeter. I think they use corn syrup or like corn-based sugars instead of just like different types of sugars. But also, again, you can make Coca-Cola taste sweeter without adding more sugar. Like, for example, if you use minerals and ions such as like calcium, potassium, chlorides, these three main ones, they add so much sweetness. Like,
so you're talking you're talking about this applying to Coca-Cola and beer, and so there's variations from country to country. And so I guess that's kind of a good sort of way back to the Poma coffee that you've got. So in a way, if you're a coffee business and you're selling like a package or whatever of certain coffees and you want everyone to experience the same thing overseas, I mean, distilled water or deionized water across the globe is somewhat similar.
Yeah, so essentially, when you strip water from all of its minerals, it's meant to be tasting the same. Sometimes it'll taste slightly different. Like you might notice some minor differences depending on how the water has been stored and how the water has been treated. But generally speaking, if the water has no minerals, it tastes the same.
Right. And so, what do you see the future of? What do you see the future of this product, in particularly when it applies to coffee? Say, I don't know, 5 years from now. So this is this. Could this start a wave? Could this change the way coffee's served in a coffee bar?
Well, I hope so. I mean, the way we've seen it is, again, we wanted to create seasoning, but for cafes and for baristas. So the way we designed the product, the way we refined the usage as well, the user experience is all about making it viable for cafes to use this as seasoning. Like if you go to any cafe, they have a kitchen, they have so much spices available and so much seasoning available. Well, the barista often doesn't have much available, and that's kind of like the spice rack but for barista.
And in your workings with Martin, I understand that you had him use a combination of the minerals
of all three profiles.
Yeah, so this is the world. Yeah, so he combined all three to make his water that helped him win the World Brewers Cup. So
the world champion. So a couple months ago in Chicago, in April 2024, 2 months ago in Chicago, we had the World Brewers Cup Championship, and this is before we had launched officially. We had our prototypes, and we had about 2/3 of competitors using our prototypes, including Martin Wolf, the world champion, and he used a combination of all three profiles. Essentially, they're designed to be great on their own, but we've also designed them in a way that you can blend them. So essentially, you would drink a coffee and you go, I want a bit more acidity, boom, I'll add a bit of tonic. You want a bit more sweetness and roundness, boom, I'll add a bit of jam. I wish I could make the aftertaste a little cleaner and rounder and reduce the bitterness, boom, I'll add a little bit of lilac. So it's kind of like fine tuning. Think of it as this one is a mix of like salt and lemon. This one is like olive oil and sugar, or butter and sugar. And this one is like black pepper and olive oil.
So were you there in Chicago?
I wasn't there in Chicago. I had a few friends there, but I guess that's what the beauty of using this product is. I know these products in and out. So I just had people texting me, calling me saying, hey, my coffee is too much like this, or I don't have enough of that. And I'd be like, cool, what's your water recipe? Okay, 2 grams of this, 1 gram of that. Okay, switch this, increase this, decrease that. And then we could like troubleshoot so easily remotely without even tasting a coffee.
And so what's life been like for you? Because obviously you work a day job. So, well, like all of us, you work a day job, and then you've got this product that you're developing. How long have you been doing this for, and how do you sort of manage your time? Because I've spoken to you about this previously, and we were actually on the phone last night just talking about how exhausted we both are because we're got our fingers in a few pies, so to speak. How are you managing it all? And if you can kind of give us the chronicles of how you got to here.
Yeah, so
this episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
I'm not running the business myself. So my partner is running the business. She basically runs all of the back end. She runs the day to day. I conceptualized the product. I created the mineral concentrations. I worked with the lab that manufactures these products for us. So that was probably, we decided to do this probably like July last year. So almost 12 months. So it took us about 10 months to get everything set up, but she runs the day to day. I don't have to worry too much about that. I mainly just design the products, and then she does the marketing, sales, etc. So I'm grateful to have an amazing person that does that with me. But it's obviously very time consuming to launch a new business. And
when did you? When was the point where you're thinking, okay, I'm fascinated by water, I could actually make a business out of this?
So it wasn't really something I was thinking. It was more like I just had people constantly asking me. I kind of like got a name in coffee for the water recipe that I was making, and I just had friends asking me, "Hey, can you make me a water for this?" Or, "I have this competition. Can you send me minerals?" And it was just like so finicky, so difficult to do that. It's very difficult to communicate otherwise and get other people to make their own water from scratch. Like it's a very time-consuming thing to do. So I was just a bit tired of doing that, and I just wanted to find an easy way to do this. And then I started playing around with different ways to simplify that, and then we got to a point where I just did that for myself initially to make my life easier every single day. And then I started giving it to a few people, and people started asking to buy it and to use it. So we made a business out of it. But that wasn't the intention. Like we just wanted to be able to share great tasting water with as many people as possible so that people could get more out of their coffee more easily.
If I can interject at one point here is that a good friend of ours, Carlos Escobar, who's now living in Colombia, shout out to him. He was preparing for the Australian Brewers Cup a few years ago, and he asked me to bring some coffees that I had in my freezer so that he could practice brewing with them and see if anything, he wanted to use any of those for his competition. And I was pretty happy with the way I was making these coffees, but I put them all on a table. He brewed them one by one, and they were, I guess, twice the coffees that I had tasted, and I was just totally blown away by what he did.
It was all the water, right?
And you and him were kind of in cahoots. You were working together, and that was pretty eye opening for me.
Yeah, and he made a special water. Is that the only difference?
Yeah, so I actually I got him to give me some to take back with me so I could play with it, and that was just awesome. But it was kind of one of the biggest things that made me realize, okay, this is for real. This water is incredible. And the impact it has on coffee is quite astounding.
I mean, to be honest, I've been doing this for 7 years. I've been playing with water composition, minerals for 7 years. So like I have a pretty good expectations of what will happen if we do this, what will happen if we do that. So I guess I don't get as surprised as most people do, but every now and then I still, we drank a coffee, it's average, we just changed the water, not anything else, and then got to a point where the coffee is actually really delicious. It goes from average to delicious, and every now and then I'm still surprised by the heavy lifting that water can do, almost to a point now that I don't change my grind setting for grinder when I do filter. I never change the ratio. I don't change the type of row that I use. I use the same type of paper filter. All I change is the water composition.
Now, left field question, if I may. A lot of people out there watching this, whether they're in the coffee industry or not, might be thinking, well, how do I develop a product and get it to market and sort of thing. You've got some pretty exceptional packaging here. What's it like going through all those sort of finer details and consulting with people and getting that?
So it's all my partner. Like, she's the one who did all of the design and everything. So it does take a considerable amount of time going between suppliers and packaging and shipping and everything. But yeah, she's done a great job with designing these. And it's funny because everyone's like complimenting us on the great packaging and already thinking of, okay, how do we improve the next one? We can do so much better.
Well, I've got this saying that I say to my staff and my business partner is that people actually eat with their eyes these days. It kind of like the unboxing of things is almost as good as the product itself. And so I just love that you've got, there's different colors here and that kind of, again, communicating with eyesight and visuals. So, different colors representing different flavor profiles, making it easier for the consumer. Was that, again, something new?
100%. You've mentioned that on one of your previous podcasts, and shout out to Hani, who's designed his amazing cups. And, I think there's a strong influence between colors and the perception of flavors. And that's kind of what we wanted to convey with these. The brighter profile has this sort of like yellow and green qualities, which are both synonym to like brightness. It just emphasizes sort of like perception of acidity, and the jam one is like the red and symbolizes the sweetness. So yes, that there's a reason why these have specific. You
recently, I saw, you had your first shipment, I guess, that you sent out to people. What was it like sort of packing all these things and, what was that? Did you have to take a few days off work to just be able to?
No, I was all done. I was all done over a weekend. So it was 2 days of packing, and then we hired a bunch of people to help us do that. But so that was fairly straightforward. We received packaging, we received the bottles from the lab, put everything together in 2 days, and everything was pretty much pre-sold. So we sold out of the first batch. Everything was pre-sold already. So the next day, DHL came in, picked up everything, and it was all gone. So we just stayed 2 days with us, and then boom, out of the door. So it's been fun. Yeah, just an intense weekend.
Having an e-commerce business is, it's kind of like, I like this about the new world, because a lot of people can go and set up a Shopify store. There's levels to it. You got to be good at what you're doing.
Shopify is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Shopify is incredible. If you're roasting coffee, if you're starting any sort of business, Shopify is great. Sponsor the podcast, Shopify. But yeah, I just like that. And I love when people have a go, and, you and your partner obviously do different things, and I just totally respect that about you, Simon. One left field question, kind of back onto the filtration. Filtration of water is such a big industry across the world. BWT, so Best Water Technology, is that what it's called? They actually sponsor the French F1 team, Alpine.
Mm-hmm. Alpine, yeah.
And before it was Force One, then Force One India or something like that. Mm-hmm. Two French drivers as well, Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly.
Time to be alive.
Yeah. So they're actually an enormous business, filtration of water itself.
It's massive. You see that in every big industry, any beer manufacturing, soft drink manufacturing, like water filtration is absolutely massive. And it's interesting that you mentioned that. Like, yes, they're a big sponsor. If you're sponsoring Formula One, you have the bankroll behind to do these like marketing projects. So water filtration is massive. Just think about it. We drink water every single day, all the time. So it is massive.
A lot of people might watch the F1 or hear this and think, what the hell are BWT? They supply a lot of the water filters that are attached to espresso machines. Mm-hmm. Often these things go for, $100 to $150 a pop. And so you have to have, your water from your tap go through, be filtered by one of these, and up to your espresso machine, produced as your coffee. So that's the application, and it applies to beer and a number of other things as well. Mm-hmm. You're doing concentrates now. What do you think you could be doing with this in the future? You're not the type of guy where I think, you'll do this and it's this for the next 20 years. What do you think you could be doing in the future?
Well, we'll see. I think this is going to take quite a bit of our time in the foreseeable future. But just what you mentioned earlier, are there applications to other industries? I think it's not just coffee. it's not applicable just to coffee. This is something that you can apply to other industries as well. I might be doing other stuff, coffee related, not coffee related, but anything that is, sensory based is something I just enjoy. I just enjoy being able to see the improvements of new technologies, new process, etc.
A little known fact that I want to revive about you is that you're actually an avid Pokemon card collector.
I am.
So can you explain some of the Pokemon cards that you've got in your collection and what age you started? How old are you now?
32.
And what age did you start collecting Pokemon cards?
First year of primary school.
And at the time that you were collecting Pokemon cards, did you think to yourself, these will have some serious value these days?
So it's funny because we had this conversation with my parents not long ago, and when I was maybe 6 or 7, I was telling my parents, like, it was becoming a trend in France. Like, everyone's playing Pokemon, everyone's just going crazy with it. And then I was like, we need to buy. So I was alive for the first edition, like the very first edition ever. And I was like, one day I'll be old and then I'll have kids and then my kids will play Pokemon and then people of my age will have money. And then like I will want to buy those very first boosters. So we should buy the very first boosters and keep them and open them 20 years later. And I was telling that to my parents when I was like 7 years old.
So have you opened those boosters?
Well, I never managed to convince them to buy nearly enough, but I do have a few unopened boosters from the very first sets.
Have you got some cards that you opened that you protected quite well that would now be of some serious worth?
Yeah, I've got a Charizard, like a first edition Charizard. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, so that's probably the most valuable asset I own. Yeah. And that in my car, and that's probably.
There's. I've got a friend, Jonathan De Alessandro. Shout out to JJ Duller. So he's got a business called Cardbot AU, where they sort of distribute Pokemon cards to the public via vending machines. So if you go to a couple of key sites, I think there's Melbourne Central, Southern Cross Station, Chadstone, there's actually vending machines where you can actually buy Pokemon cards, and it's a big business. He employs like 10 people or something now.
I'm going now. We're going right after this.
Yeah. So they started during COVID, and then now they're doing this and they're doing quite well. But part of what they do is they actually help grade Pokemon cards. Yep. So they grade it on the condition.
It's massive.
So on the scale, where do you reckon your Pokemon? What do you reckon the condition of your Charizard?
Mine is it's a little bit beaten up. It would grade a 7 out of 10. Like, it's got these 0.5 ranking. It's probably a 7. So the value is exponential. It's like the same as coffee. If you have a 95 scoring coffee as opposed to 94 scoring coffee, which is like the best. Well, pretty much the value pretty much doubles. Like, it's exponential. So mine, maybe not the best.
What do you reckon it could go for in the market?
What, the Pokemon cards or the coffee?
The Pokemon card.
We've seen, I think, a couple of cards being sold for over $1 million each.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a serious business. Maybe that's what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. I'd probably play, sell, trade, play Pokemon all day. I don't know.
Are you up to date with the latest Pokemon games?
I have no idea.
What generation did you stop?
Third, I think.
Okay, because I got up to the 4th and I was like, all right, I cannot keep going.
Yeah, now it's like 7 or 8 or maybe more. I have no idea.
I think it's 10 actually.
Maybe one day when I'll have kids, one day I'll probably catch up and like find out about all of these Pokemons I've missed.
Greatest Pokemon of all time, Pokemon game of all time for you?
Yellow, because it's the most difficult one.
Yeah.
Super hard. Pikachu is so bad and it makes it super difficult for you, and I like having my back against the wall and making it extra difficult for myself. Okay,
because I like Pokemon Platinum. When I had Pokemon Platinum, I think I was in like year 11 or 12, and so what would that have made me? 16 maybe. I completed the Pokédex. I think there was 493 Pokemon. I had every single one you could get without having mystery gift. So that's how, like, these are special Pokemon you've got to go to events and actually get, like, transferred to your Game Boy or whatever. I think it was like 485
That's a lot.
Pokemon out of 493. So I just physically could not get the other ones. So I clocked some serious hours on that. But that was some of the best times of my life. I like how this podcast has just transitioned from like water for coffee and all sorts of things to Pokemon. But
one really nerdy topic to another.
Yeah, well, but it's good. Yeah, we always
got to catch them all, including all of the minerals.
All of the minerals
and all the coffees, yeah.
But we always talk about on the show, like Zelda. Like, I play Zelda religiously. I've recently started playing again, Liam. Like the new Zelda games are awesome. And I mean, if you're going to learn something from this podcast, laugh about it, connect with us about, games, then, we've all won. But we've got another segment that I want to get going with you now, and that is rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you 20 questions.
Right,
You've got a minute to answer them.
All of them?
We'll try.
Okay, I'll do that.
And then, if you do, you get a prize. Don't know what it is yet, but we'll see. So are you ready?
Challenge accepted.
All right.
Hey, it's just questions.
I'm going to put you under the pump, bring the pressure. Here we go.
And your time starts now.
Emmanuel Macron or Marine Le Pen?
Emmanuel Macron.
Mbappe or Bellingham?
Mbappe.
Filter or espresso?
Filter.
Tonic jam or lilac?
Tonic.
Cheese or wine?
Cheese.
Washed or natural?
Natural.
Best Pokemon starter of all time?
Pass.
Favorite Star Wars?
First one.
Favorite grinder?
Kinu.
Best coffee city outside of Australia?
Tokyo.
Almond, oat or soy milk?
None of them.
Favorite brewer?
V60.
Favorite Pokemon game?
Yellow.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Gasly or Ocon?
Ocon.
Panama or Colombia?
Panama.
Curry or pasta?
Pasta.
Lance or Hoffman?
Lance.
Greatest coffee podcast of all time?
This one.
Best croissant in Australia?
Lune.
All right, that's it. That's 20 questions. Smashed it. He absolutely punched it with time to spare.
Yeah, I think I gave a couple of wrong answers, but I'm happy with what I got. Yeah.
Which one did you pass?
I passed the Pokemon just because I don't know the names in English. I played the French one version, so I can give you what's the green one, the plant one in English? Old Bizarre? Yeah, it's the same in French. Okay, that's my favorite one. Again, it's the weakest one. So
and best croissant in Australia. That'd be one you're well informed on making a decision on.
Yeah, I think Lune in Melbourne is so good. Everyone's like, Lune is overrated, and there's so much queuing, and it's like there's massive queue outside for a reason, and they're so expensive for a reason. Like I think they're amazing. Like they're just so good.
In my previous life, I once worked for St. Ali, of course, and then we actually did a pop-up in Singapore for this trade show. I can't remember the name of it, but Lune Croissant were also invited to do a trade show there. But anyway, they calculated there was an exact amount of croissants they could make each day, and so there was a system so that when people got there, no one would be made to line up if they weren't going to get a croissant. Anyway, so they calculated it all. But on the first day, they miscalculated by one. And so one lady got to the end of the line and missed out on her croissant. She had a meltdown. She offered like 50 Singaporean dollars to the person in front of her for one of the two croissants she had. The lady denied her, and I've never seen someone so spectacularly melt down. She lined up for 5 hours, but it wasn't Lune's fault. One of the clerks at the thing miscalculated.
So they're worth $50. That's what you're saying, basically.
Oh, she was trying to bargain with the lady in front of her, but hey, that's my scandal with Lune Croissant. I like Ostro. They supply my shop. They're really good.
I've had great croissants at your shop.
Yeah. And then there's also Wildlife Bakery is pretty good. Not far from here. So.
I need to go out there more and try more of these new bakeries.
Yeah. So anyway, that is croissant talk for this podcast. Before we get to the hottest and most controversial segment of this podcast, one thing that just sort of occurred to me, I'm going to ask you to name your top 5, in no particular order, coffee farms on the planet. You're going to probably get some angry farmers messaging you. Why didn't you include me? I'll do 5 and you do 5, but you go first. Top 5, no particular order, coffee farms in the world.
Café Granja La Esperanza in Colombia, Finca El Paraíso in Colombia, Finca Nugo in Panama, Abu in Panama, and the last one, so 2 in Colombia and 2 in Panama, and the last one would be, I'm struggling here. Probably another one in Panama, and I would say I really like Finca Debra.
Finca Debra is excellent. 1 and 2 in the World Barista Championship this year, so Finca Debra, excellent. All right, my turn now. Las Alacitas in Bolivia, one of my favorites of all time. I'm also going to put in there Finca Hartmann from Panama.
I wish I had.
Yeah. I'm also going to go Jansen. Yeah. Finca Jansen, they do unbelievable coffee. A left field one, Hacienda La Papaya. In Ecuador.
Absolutely.
They do some absolutely stunning and phenomenal coffees. Another one that I will mention,
Rasmus in Copenhagen.
Yeah, Finca Rasmus. I'm not going to count that. And then last one, let's go Geisha Village.
Oh, yeah. Ethiopian.
Geisha Village in Ethiopia. I've got to have one outside of the Americas.
Outside of Colombia and Panama.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had an Ecuadorian and Bolivian.
True, yeah.
I guess an honorable mention there would be, what are they called? Doterra in Brazil. Yeah. They do some excellent coffee, but yeah. Oh man, the Lamastus family as well, you know. There's too many. Yeah. This is hard. I'm never going to ask this question again. All right.
I must hit you with the it's just coffee, boys.
It's just
all
coffee.
These names, man.
It's just coffee. All right. Well, we're going to do the hottest and most controversial segment in all of podcasting. It is time for the extra hot take with 2 sugars.
I got you.
Okay, you got me?
How do we feel about that? Do we still like the old theme songs?
Yeah, absolutely. That theme song's got to say. Rowan, my usual partner, is not here. He's away on a business junket in Italy right now. So he usually introduces this segment. There's usually like, oh, it's getting hot in here. It's winter in Melbourne, so it's definitely not. But Simon, I feel like you're packing some heat. So I want to hear your extra hot take with 2 sugars. Please tell the people what is.
I think that milk in coffee will disappear in less than 10 years. And I think there will be no more latte, no more flat white, no more cappuccino. First, it will disappear with full cream, and then all of the alternative milk will be gone.
Whoa! Yeah. Okay. I asked you to withhold telling me before the podcast, and now I'm kind of like, all right, do I have a lawsuit on my hands? Explain.
Two main reasons. First reason, I do think that coffee tastes way better when it's brewed with no milk, whether it's an espresso or a filter. And I think the reason why it hasn't sort of like become so popular just yet in Australia is because until recently we didn't have great coffee for espresso or for filter. But now I think many cafes have amazing black coffee. Second reason is, third reason actually. Second reason is more and more people are realizing that we're all human beings kind of like lactose intolerant. So you see less and less full cream consumption, like it's literally plummeting. The newer generation, anyone under 25 years old that I meet, everyone's drinking oat milk. I don't meet someone under 25, or maybe under 30, that drinks full cream milk. So it's just crazy to see how people are shifting to alternative milk. But I still don't think alternative milk are, doing a great job in coffee. I feel like regardless of, I'm going to make a lot of enemies here, but regardless of the coffee you put it with, everything tastes the same. It just tastes like soy or almond or oats. And the last reason is cafes are not doing too well right now. Like on average, like the volumes are down in cafes. Like it's very difficult to run a cafe and to run a cafe successfully. And from a business point of view, if we moved most of the milk-based coffees to black coffee, whether it's long black, espresso, or filter coffee or batch brew, cafes would be way more profitable. They would be able to pump coffee quickly. They would have a lot less cost because milk is really expensive. It's generally more expensive than coffee. The cost of milk is more expensive than coffee. So milk, I think, is killing the coffee industry in Australia. So I think that's the reason why we'll inevitably move to an industry with no milk.
All right. So milk is killing the coffee industry in Australia. I want you to say that down the barrel of the camera.
Okay, I'm definitely making enemies. Milk is killing the coffee industry in Australia.
See, I'm gonna have to. Oh man, that's a tough one for me because
I know you're the milkman to me.
Oh man, I love milk-based coffee. Like my first thing when I get to the cafe in the morning is I make myself a milk coffee. Like I'm gonna be honest. I would be sad to live in that world.
You wanted spice, I gave it to you.
Yeah.
I love this.
Okay.
It's the milkman and the waterman.
Yeah. But I get what you're saying because to prepare a milk coffee, there's a lot of, the cost of the milk itself, the distribution of that milk. There's a lot of debate about that. And then, of course, there's the machinery that is required
it's very
to prepare
expensive.
it. So, if you want to...
The skill set as well.
If you had a cafe that produced entirely black coffee, so filter coffee, your costs would be you buy a $2,000 brewer, and then you're sorted. You've got some minerals here. And then
you're running batch brews as well, like in terms of labor as well.
Yeah.
You prepare everything in advance. It stays hot. You serve it. People get their coffee faster. It solves a lot of the issues.
Yeah. And, we've had a lot of success in our cafe selling batch brew. And so much so it's a a much bigger portion of our sales than I thought it would be, because, obviously we do our best to make it taste great, but also people get it's really quick. And if you're like, a lot of people are looking for a low fat option, and, looking for something a bit healthier, there's nothing really healthier in terms of coffee than a filter coffee or a long black.
Yeah, I mean, milk-based coffees, whether you're lactose intolerant or not, it's got fat as well. And then all of the alternative milk options, there's a whole bunch of like preservatives going into that. So a lot of people are sort of like moving away from that as well. But yeah, look, I do like a good milk-based coffee as well. My point is just, I think that the proportion, instead of being 90% milk-based coffees at cafes, it will shift to a much lower number. And I hope that if this is the case, I don't wish it disappears, but I hope that people just enjoy it more. Because right now it's like, we just take it for granted. It's like, oh yeah, coffee, there's milk in it. But to get milk out of a cow, it's actually, but it's actually a pretty hectic process. Like, it's not necessarily the most ethical one either. And I think, when we should appreciate that, like we should appreciate it more and just value that way more than it is currently.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to ask people listening all right, so I'm going to ask two questions of two different interest groups here. If you're a consumer, try batch brew in the next couple of weeks. If you're a cafe, start sampling your batch brew to people more, because you can, and this is something I do at my cafe a lot. So just give them a sample and
a little piccolo cup.
Yeah, a little piccolo cup. And then, if you transition, 20% of your customers to batch brew, you'll serve them quicker. You'll make better margins on it, I guess, as well. It's a healthy option for everyone. And it's delicious.
And less pressure on the barista during the busy period. It means that you floor staff, the person on it can also do that.
And we're entering a sort of phase, we'll get into this in another podcast, I guess, but we're entering a phase where cafes will be less resourced, less staff, and, batch brews, might become a necessity for a lot of them to survive. But again, another question, if you're a cafe, start putting more effort into your batch brew. Refresh it every few hours. Start making it so great that you don't have to refresh it and you don't have to waste any. You will love it.
And push it. Yeah, just like offer it to people. Like it's usually, if you have great coffee, people try and go, oh, wow, I thought filter coffee was not good. And then they try and go, oh, wow, this is great. I'll have that.
All right. My extra hot take was also relating to milk. Kind of pales in comparisons to yours.
All right.
My extra hot take with two sugars is skim or light milk should be banned. You kind of have to have 5 or 6 different options available now to not have your customers unhappy with you. So if one of them's got to get the sharpest skim, it's just such a waste of time. It's just like, you're not actually going to lose that much more weight if you transition from full cream to skim. It tastes worse.
Way worse.
It's like annoying to have an extra one on the menu. And yeah, just screw it. We don't need skim or light milk. Just get rid of it.
Full cream and maybe oat.
And then to actually make skim or light milk, you actually have to remove the fats from it, and then it actually creates quite a lot of waste, because some of the fats might go into making cream, so for cooking products and stuff like that, and then you've got just this other byproduct that not much use for. So skim, light milk, you're banned. I'm out of it. But Simon, that just about sort of wraps us up. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. I've interviewed you a couple of times before. It's been excellent. I think this has been informative for everyone who's listened. Rowan would be bummed to have missed out on being here and being able to interview you. And then we've got a little event that we're doing tomorrow as well. So
yes, we're having a little pop-up event tomorrow at Project Zero Coffee from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yep.
Running some pretty exciting coffees on the brew bar, on your bar. We have coffees from your favorite farm and some of my favorite farms as well. And every coffee will be served using our APAX mineral concentrates.
Yeah, and so we'll be we'll be proud stockists of some of these products as well. So if you ever want to try one of these, you can just come try batch brew, and we'll probably be dispensing it we'll be able to give you a sample of each. And if you like it so much, then you'll be able to buy it. So where can customers get it if they're overseas?
So we have, we ship worldwide on our website, apaxlab.com. We ship worldwide, and it ships pretty quickly and reliably with DHL most of the time. But we have stockists all around the world, in literally every continent. So you can have a look at our website. We have a store locator to find physical stores nearby, but also websites of distributors and stockists around.
Excellent. Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm looking forward to tomorrow, and thank you so much for bringing this and being so generous with your time as well.
Thanks for inviting me a third time in your podcast, and for chatting Pokemon with me and all things coffee.
Got to catch them all. But remember, everyone, it's just coffee. Didn't even have to tell you. You knew it straight away.
Well, and yeah, it's just water as well.
It's just water.
Just water.
It's just water.
Or is it? Or is it?
Is it? Or is it? Yeah, exactly.
But that wraps it up here. Thanks again, Simon.
Thank you very much.